Welcome back to another episode of Sweet Donuts Fishing. In this video I'm going to show you a little bit about my boat. I've had a few people send me some messages and ask me about some of the things I've done on it, and I'm quite proud of some of the little additives you can add for quite a reasonable price, because I don't like to spend a lot of money on things, so I'm sure you're probably the same. So I'll show you some of the DIY stuff I've done. So one of my favourite things I've added to my boat is this. It's called a boat buckle. I regret not filming when I put it in, because it would have been useful to show people how I installed it. But this is a really handy gadget that saves you from having to put ratchet straps on your boat. So basically it drills in the back and it's bolted in. This goes in and it retracts and then it clips, and you put it on your boat. Some people might have clips here, or they might have some kind of eyelet that they connect it to, but for my boat this is the case. I would have liked to welded something on here, but that does create issues. So that's how I do it at the moment, and you lock it in, and yeah, it's quite easy to use. One of the other things I've added to my boat, besides this, the depth sounder, you can pretty much get any brand you want. I'm not going to recommend one on that. But this was one of my favorite new things I've recently added, the swivel. They're generally for kayaks, but if you can find the right one, you can mount it on there, and it allows you to easily move your depth sounder around. So for me, I like to stand at the front of the boat and fish. So if I'm over the top of a reef or something, instead of spending large amounts of money to get an additional depth sounder you can mount at the front, instead I have this on the swivel and I can turn it and face the front. So that's one little additive I've got, and that was about $20 on eBay. And then something else I've also added, if you can find one to fit the depth sounder you've got, is this. It's called a Berkeley Pro, and you just Google Berkeley Pro, I'll put the link in there, and basically it's a cover to block the sun out. So in this, if you're in sunny conditions, it's very hard to see these screens quite often. So you put this on there and it covers it. Again, that's about, I think that cost me $50. It's not an absolute must, so for $50, if it's something you don't think you're going to use, I wouldn't bother. The reason I bought it was because I bought another accessory and I saved on shipping if I added this. Otherwise, it's probably something I wouldn't necessarily add unless you really had to spend. This here is one of my favorite things I've added to my boat. It's a Rapala rod rack. You can get these at BCF for about, I think it was $30, $35. But what I like about this, it comes in two parts. So there's a part at the bottom, like a base where it holds the bottom of the rod, the butt of the rod. And then here where you can put the rod in, but it clips in really good. Like that's, once it's in, it's not going anywhere. And you got to give it kind of a good yank to get out. So I love this. So when I go fishing, I have 6 rods set up with different lures. So what I do is I have them all there and I can just pop them out and they get out the way. So that's one of my favorite things to add, and you can pick that up at BCF for about $30, $35. So this here is another accessory that can work for some boats and not others. So if you have a boat with a large casting deck and you don't want to put a rack like I've got here, you might want to add this, which is a rod buckle. Made by the same company makes the boat buckle, which I'm also showing in this video, which holds the boat down. This is similar. It's a retractable, I guess what you'd call this, it's some kind of ribbon that retracts and it goes over, and then it locks in place and then holds your rods down really well. So for me, I use this to hold my rods down when I'm transporting or driving the boat, because I don't really like having these sitting up in case I go under a low bridge and I snap them off, so I feel more comfortable with that on there. But the only thing with this is you do have to cut a hole. So with this, it comes with a mounting guide that's about that size, and you got to draw it and you got to cut it in. So if you don't want to cut holes in your boat, or you don't have somewhere that can easily be cut, it's probably not for you. So for me, it was all right because I had wood there. But alternately, before this, I had basically, it was a strap that went across similar to these, but it was a really long one. And what it would do is it would go across and clip on. It does the same thing. This was just, you know, for $40, why not? That's why I added it. But again, it's not a must-have. So this here is one of my favorite things I've added. Inside here, I've utilized the storage and I've made my own live well. So this, it took me ages to work out how I wanted to do it, but in the end, I contacted a welder and I got them to make me one out of metal. And then I've sprayed it, and I've got it sealed and it's all waterproof, and it fits perfectly to my dimension. If you're lucky enough, you could buy an esky or a bucket or something else that can fit there, but I really wanted that custom fit, so I got this. This is probably, a welder might charge you $100, $150 to make that. And then in terms of the pump, what I did was, I might do a separate video on this, but basically I bought this from BCF. It's a $40 pump, but what happens is underneath there's a little like suction hole where it intakes the water and filters it out. if you're using, depending on the fish you catch and how clean the water is, that gets blocked within minutes and then it doesn't filter water anymore. So I took ages and tried to work out ways I could prevent that from blocking. So I luckily found this. It's kind of like a bag that you would wash maybe like underwear or a bra or something in the washing. It happens to be obviously porous enough to allow water in, but really fine, and it won't let anything else in. So I put that in, covered it, and then wired it, and this just works a charm now. So all I do is when I go out fishing, I fill it up with water, turn that on, it's connected to the battery, it filters through, and then when it runs out of battery, when I'm finished, or if I think the water needs replenished, I just empty it and tip it back in. It's quite an easy fix. Okay, so whilst filming this video, I had to go get this little guy. He woke up, so he's going to be in this part of the video with me. So this is the last accessory I want to show you that I think's worth having if you don't have one, and it's a trawling motor. So depending on the type of fishing you're doing, you might want to get one that has a spot lock and a GPS, or what I do canal fishing, which you'll see in my videos. I need to be able to move and control the boat, so I need to have something with a foot pedal, and ideally a cable steer. Cable steer motors are super expensive, but this one actually isn't. This is the WaterSnake Hawser. I'll do a video on it later why I think this is the best motor to get, mainly because of the price. So this ranges from, I think it's $700 brand new, but I bought 2 of them for $399 on sale, and they're that good for what they do. And if there's any issues, Jarvis Walker are really handy at fixing. So this would be one of the best accessory to have. I think if you're going to be serious about your fishing, you need to get a trawling motor. No questions asked. Save up all your money and buy one. But don't necessarily buy the expensive one just because your mates have a Minn Kota one. Have a look at the Jarvis Walker brand. I think they're best value for money. And there's no point getting the little hand ones you put at the back. If it does not have a foot pedal or a little tag with the buttons, don't get it, because you're going to regret it. You're going to want to upgrade. But this is a must-have. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting your time doing fishing unless you just want to anchor and sit there all day and hope that the fish come to you. Okay, thanks for joining us for another episode of Sweet Donut Fishing. I hope you liked the accessories I showed you on my boat, and maybe you might be able to do some of them yourself, some DIY stuff. If you've got any questions, leave a comment or send me a message, and I can explain to you how I've done any of these things. I might even be able to do a video specifically on them. So until next time, see you later.